The story of the Philadelphia experiment begins not with a bang, but with a whisper. A series of strange letters sent to a niche author in 1955. Morris K. Jessup, an amateur astronomer and author of the book The Case for the UFO, was the unsuspecting recipient. The letters were penned by a mysterious and transient man who signed his name as Carlos Miguel Allende, or sometimes Carl Allen. Allende claimed to have witnessed a terrifying and secret experiment conducted by the U.S. Navy during the height of World War II. He alleged that, on or about October 28, 1943, the Navy had managed to render a destroyer escort, the USS Eldridge, completely invisible. This wasn't just a matter of camouflage, Allende insisted, but true, physical invisibility achieved through powerful electromagnetic fields. The experiment, he wrote, took place at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard, a bustling hub of wartime activity. Allende's letters described a ghastly green fog that slowly enveloped the Eldridge before it vanished from sight. The implications were staggering, suggesting a mastery of physics far beyond the accepted science of the era. Jessup was initially skeptical, dismissing the letters as the ramblings of a crank. However, his curiosity was piqued when he was contacted by the Office of Naval Research, ONR-BIT. The ONR had received a package containing a copy of Jessup's own book, The Case for the UFO. This copy was filled with rambling, multicolored ink annotations, echoing the claims made in Allende's letters. The notes, written as if by three different entities, discussed advanced propulsion, alien life, and the Philadelphia experiment. Intrigued by the strange coherence within the madness, the ONR commissioned a small, private printing of the annotated book. This publication, known as the Varro edition, became the foundational text for the burgeoning legend. Jessup, now deeply embroiled, tried to pursue the story further, but found his efforts frustrated at every turn. His career faltered, and he grew increasingly despondent over the strange events that had overtaken his life. Tragically, Morris Jessup was found dead in his car in 1959, an apparent suicide that proponents of the theory view with suspicion. His death added a layer of martyrdom and conspiracy to the already sensational tale. But what of the experiment itself, the supposed event that started it all? According to the legend, the goal was to find an application for Albert Einstein's unified field theory. The theory aimed to unite the forces of electromagnetism and gravity, a grand scientific quest. If successful, it could theoretically allow for the bending of light around an object, rendering it invisible. The USS Eldridge was allegedly outfitted with massive, experimental generators to create the required electromagnetic fields. The initial test, as the story goes, was only partially successful, resulting in a hazy, indistinct outline of the ship. Sailors on board reportedly suffered from extreme nausea and disorientation, the first hint of the terrible side effects. The main event on October 28th, however, went catastrophically further than anyone had anticipated. Not only did the ship vanish from Philadelphia, but it was supposedly sighted for a few minutes in Norfolk, Virginia. This suggested not just invisibility, but instantaneous teleportation over hundreds of miles. When the Eldridge reappeared in Philadelphia, the true horror was revealed. The crew had suffered a grotesque fate, a consequence of the powerful, uncontrolled forces unleashed upon them. Some sailors were said to be fused into the very metal of the ship's bulkheads and deck. Others were simply gone, vanished entirely, leaving only their empty boots behind. A few were reportedly driven completely insane, their minds shattered by the experience. There were tales of men who would phase in and out of visibility, uncontrollably fading from view. One sailor was said to have walked through a wall in front of his family before disappearing forever. The surviving crew were allegedly discharged as mentally unfit or subjected to intense brainwashing to erase their memories. The entire project was immediately classified at the highest level, its records buried or destroyed. This horrifying narrative, born from Allende's letters, has captivated conspiracy theorists for decades. However, the official account from the U.S. Navy tells a much more mundane story. They have consistently and categorically denied that any such experiment ever took place. Ship's logs and records, which are meticulously kept, provide a verifiable timeline for the USS Eldridge. These records show the Eldridge was not in Philadelphia during the alleged time of the experiment. In fact, it was commissioned in New York and spent that autumn on sea trials in the Bahamas. The journey from Philadelphia to Norfolk and back in a matter of minutes is physically impossible by known means. So where did the legend come from? Researchers suggest the story is a distorted amalgamation of several different, real events. The Navy was indeed conducting experiments at the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard during the war. One such procedure was known as degaussing, a process to make a ship invisible to magnetic mines. This involved wrapping the hull in electrical cables and passing a powerful current through them to counteract the ship's magnetic signature. To an untrained observer, this scientific procedure could have looked mysterious and strange. The greenish glow could have been the result of an electrical storm or St. Elmo's fire, a common weather phenomenon at sea. The crew of the USS Engstrom, who were docked alongside the Eldridge, later recalled strange experiments. They spoke of classified experiments involving sonic and subsonic frequencies, not invisibility. As for Carlos Allende, later investigation revealed him to be Carl Allen, a man with a history of mental instability. He had a known tendency for fabricating elaborate stories and hoaxes. It's believed he likely overheard sailors' tales of degaussing and other experiments and wove them into a fantastical narrative. His knowledge of esoteric physics likely came from his own reading, which he then projected onto Jessup's work. The story of sailors fused to the ship may have been a gruesome exaggeration of a common naval accident. High-pressure steam leaks on naval vessels were known to cause horrific, sometimes fatal, burns that could be described in such a way. The teleportation to Norfolk remains the most outlandish part of the claim. Skeptics point out that the Eldridge could have traveled between Philadelphia and Norfolk via the Chesapeake and Delaware Canal. This inland waterway route would have kept it hidden from open sea observation for much of the journey. A ship could disappear from one port and reappear in another in a surprisingly short amount of time, creating the illusion of speed. Despite the thorough debunking by naval historians and scientists, the legend persists. It speaks to a deep-seated fascination with secret government projects and forbidden technology. The story contains classic mythological elements: a quest for ultimate power, a terrible price for hubris, and a hidden truth. The Philadelphia experiment has become a modern folktale, a piece of 20th century mythology. It has inspired numerous books, documentaries, and feature films, each adding its own layer to the lore. The tale serves as a cautionary one about the potential dangers of unchecked scientific ambition. It reflects a common anxiety about the secret knowledge that governments might possess. Was it a real event covered up by the authorities? Or was it a fiction spun from the mind of a troubled individual and amplified by a curious author? Truth likely lies somewhere in the mundane reality of wartime research. But the myth of the Philadelphia experiment is far more compelling than the facts. It remains a testament to the power of a good story to eclipse a simple truth. The legend began with the USS Eldridge, a vessel destined for obscurity. Its service record was unremarkable, a typical wartime escort ship. After the war, The Eldridge was decommissioned by the U.S. Navy. In 1951, it was transferred to the Royal Hellenic Navy as part of a military aid program. It was renamed the H.S. Leon and served the Greek Navy for decades. The sailors who served on the H.S. Leon reported no strange occurrences. There were no phasing men, no strange fogs, no lingering electromagnetic effects. The ship was a solid, reliable piece of naval hardware, nothing more. The H.S. Leon was finally decommissioned in '92, its long service complete. It was sold for scrap in 1999, its physical form dismantled and recycled. The metal that supposedly fused with human flesh was melted down. The vessel at the heart of the myth ceased to exist, but the story lived on. Alfred Bielek, another key figure, emerged in the 1980s, claimed to be a survivor of the experiment, his memories unlocked by the 1984 movie. Bielek alleged he was born Edward Cameron and had been part of the project. He claimed to have leaped overboard the Eldridge during the experiment's chaos. He said he and his brother traveled forward in time, arriving in the year 2137. After a stay in the future, they were sent back to 1983. Bielek's story was a complex narrative involving time travel, secret government programs, and aliens. He became a popular speaker on the conspiracy circuit, his tale adding new dimensions to the legend. However, investigations into his past found no evidence to support his claims. His birth certificate, school records, and family history all pointed to him being Alfred Bielek, not Edward Cameron. His entire story appeared to be a fabrication, yet it was embraced by many. The addition of time travel made the Philadelphia experiment myth even more potent. It connected the wartime secret to a broader universe of paranormal beliefs. The core of the story remains the USS Eldridge in 1943. USS Eldridge in 1943. A ship in a harbor, a crew of young men, and a world at war. The Navy needed technological edges to win the war. Research into radar, sonar, and magnetism was a top priority. The pressure to innovate was immense, and secrecy was paramount. This environment of secret, high-stakes research is the fertile ground from which the legend grew. Sailors' rumors, misunderstood science, and a troubled hoaxer all combined. A UFO author's curiosity provided the spark that lit the flame. The Office of Naval Research's interest, though likely routine, fanned the embers of conspiracy. Jessup's tragic death gave the story a sense of gravitas and danger. The narrative was too good, too perfect, to be dismissed by believers. It had heroes, villains, monsters, and a tantalizing secret. The Philadelphia experiment is a puzzle with many pieces. Official pieces create a picture of wartime routine and a sad hoax. The fringe pieces create a masterpiece of paranormal lore. Whether time travel or myth, the story forces a look into the shadows of history. It questions how much of the official record is the complete story. It highlights our willingness to believe in the extraordinary. The truth of the Philadelphia experiment may be lost to time, but its legend is, for better or worse, immortal. The tale began with a ship, the USS Eldridge, registry number D-173. Its keel was laid down in early 1943, a product of the war machine. The men who built it had no idea of the legend it would one day spawn. They were simply doing their part for the war effort, building ships as fast as they could. The sailors assigned to it were young men, many fresh from training. They likely viewed the Eldridge as just another destroyer escort, a workhorse of the Atlantic convoys. The real experiments in the Philadelphia yard were focused on defeating German U-boats. Invisibility to radar, or stealth, was a genuine scientific pursuit. Early stealth technology involved radar-absorbent materials and specific shaping of the hull. It's plausible that the Eldridge was involved in some form of this early, classified radar testing. A sailor on another ship, seeing a vessel that gave a weak or strange radar return, might start a rumor. That rumor, passed from sailor to sailor, could grow and change with each telling. By the time Carl Allen heard it in a bar years later, it could have transformed into a tale of true invisibility. The human element, the desire for a good story, cannot be discounted. The official silence on the matter, a standard procedure for any classified research, only fueled speculation. If the Navy had simply explained degaussing, the legend might have died. But in the paranoid atmosphere of the Cold War, no comment was often interpreted as confirmation. The story became a self-sustaining ecosystem of belief. Each new book or witness added another layer of evidence for believers to cite. The lack of hard proof was seen not as a flaw, but as evidence of the cover-up's effectiveness. Ultimately, the Philadelphia experiment is a story about belief itself. It's a testament to how a narrative can become more real than reality if enough people want it to be.